Another thing I learned when I was a Christian that still applies to me even today is number 9. Avoidance toward relationships. Christianity taught me that there was a lot of toxic messages about relationships and the biblical, or I call it the horrible view of marriage. Now, if you've listened to my previous videos, you know that I am not a staunch supporter in the sanctity of marriage. I don't like marriage. Historically, it's been used to oppress women and to erase gay people, since they haven't had the right to get married for 15 years yet. And I don't like the idea how straight white America, and even all races, worship the idea of marriage. Biblical marriage is one of the worst hells I've ever had to experience. And luckily, I've never been married or in a biblical relationship. Just having my eyes open during church events at church, and just how my mother counseled people who were married, and I don't think they ever knew that they were a placeholder. I think they suspected. Just taught me that the idea of the straight nuclear family is a dream. The American dream, and you have to be asleep in order to believe it. There's nothing wrong with being married, being straight at all. The idea that everyone is that, or everyone is expected to be that, and that there's a cultural and religious discrimination against people who don't fit that, is why I just don't like the canonization and the worship of the idol of marriage. I don't even believe in idols. The religious kind, anyway. I do believe that people who are religious worship the institution of straight marriage. Because straight marriage gives people just one thing: an image of respectability. This is why a lot of straight predators have gotten away with abuse for decades. Because they believe that being a happily married wife or husband means you're a decent person. Well, people who believe that haven't watched 60 Minutes or the Crime Channel, because most of the most notorious criminals in American history were family men. And if they weren't married, they were in a traditional straight relationship. So being married and having a partner is seen as a religious milestone. You can't be a senior or junior leader in a church without being married. At least not in any of the extreme biggest forms of denominations in America today. If you have females in positions of authority, you get thrown out of different denominational institutions. So Christianity taught me how hollow and sterile the nuclear family really is. And yeah, you can be straight, you can be married and have kids. Reject the entire institution of marriage and its toxic messages, and be morally decent people. I'm saying that the idea that there's only one way to live is inherently terrible. And I think one of the reasons I'm single even to this day is because I've seen how biblical marriage makes everyone miserable. Because biblical marriage isn't between one man and one woman. It's between as many women as is legal. Polygamy is biblical marriage. Biblical marriage is when women could not consent to marriage. They were sold off. Biblical marriage includes concubines and certain things that most waspy Christians even today are uncomfortable with. And what's terrible is women, even in the church, they don't see themselves as fully equal, autonomous, and brilliant. They see themselves as just being an extension of the person they're attached to. And I just don't want any of that near me. And Christianity taught me everything about marriage. And 99% of it is bad. Just awful. And I would rather be thriving with my career being single than be another man's placeholder. Because that's what the majority of religious people are. And I just don't want that. If people aren't comfortable spending time alone and being by themselves, there's something wrong with you. And I don't trust people that can't be happy being by themselves. You don't have to prefer being by yourself, but you better be comfortable being by yourself. There's a type of internal reflection, maturity, and green flag behavior when people are comfortable being alone. And there's something about straight people who just can't understand, grasp, and accept that just because I'm single doesn't mean I'm lonely or alone. It just means I don't want to share my life with somebody at this time. And I can share my life with somebody without being married or being in a sexual romantic relationship. It's called friendship. And there's something about straight Christian society that just can't grasp that the most important decision you make isn't who you marry, but how you see yourself and how you live. If I ever choose to have a romantic sexual partner, they're not even going to be in the top 3 most important relationships of my life. Personally, I think myself comes first, my friends come second, and then they come in. Some people probably would have pets higher on the list. I'm not a pet person. And I'm okay with that. Just be who you are. And if society doesn't like you, give them the finger. Because at the end of the day, I'd rather have no regrets and no remorse than live my life to please people and be utterly miserable. Because biblical marriage is miserable. I've never met someone in a biblical marriage, a biblical straight marriage, that was happy. It doesn't exist. Because biblical marriage doesn't see women as equal. And how you can be happy in a relationship that views you as less than is something I still wonder about. I think it's called grooming and indoctrination, but goodness me, I've never met a happy, cis, straight, married woman in any church. Not under the age of 45. And that's my experience, and you can have a completely different experience. But any church that believes in traditional gender roles and straight marriage is the only way to go and erases anyone who isn't straight, that's not a safe place to be. Not for anyone who isn't a straight, cis, white man.